It is 8 p.m. and here are our top stories. A major event for one of Colorado's largest industries says it's leaving the state.
That the owners of Outdoor Retailer are blatantly ignoring the indigenous people, the local activists, the conservation community.
Why the Outdoor Retailer trade show is moving west and how some of the major brands are reacting.
We won't return to the trade show in Utah unless the state's leaders abandon their legal threats.
A Denver man finds himself in a pickle.
Arslan had no intent to damage. Once again, Denver Parks and Rec and John Martinez refused to meet with myself and Arslan.
Why he's now facing criminal charges because of the game pickleball.
The past few months, the West has been united. The president is traveling to Europe to ensure we stay united.
President Biden heads to Europe for a critical meeting with NATO leaders as Ukrainian forces continue to achieve small victories against Russia.
A political pioneer passes away after a battle with cancer. We look at Madeleine Albright's legendary career and her ties to Colorado.
And a decision by the Douglas County School Board, who they're picking to be the new district superintendent, and why they're still dealing with the consequences of firing the old one. Good evening, and thank you for watching Denver 7 News on Local 3. I'm Jessica Porter.
I'm Danny New, and what could be a major blow to Colorado's outdoor industry, the Outdoor Retailer Trade Show is leaving our state after this year and then heading back to Salt Lake City.
Now, the show started out in Salt Lake City and left for Denver 5 years ago once Utah lawmakers backed President Trump in ending protections for certain public lands.
Denver 7's Rob Harris joins us live from the newsroom. Okay, so Rob, you spoke with some of the industry leaders about this today. What exactly changed here?
Yeah, so Danny, that's the question that a lot of the participating brands at the Outdoor Retailer Trade Show are asking themselves. They're not happy about this move back to Salt Lake City because they say the public lands and national monuments are still not being protected by leaders in Utah. Now, one of the biggest factors for OR Trade Show leaving Salt Lake in 2017 was the Utah legislature and governor asking the federal government to take away the protected status of the Bears Ears National Monument. State leaders in Utah are actually still pushing to roll back protections to this day. And that's why many big name brands at the trade show say they are out unless the show stays in Colorado or leaders in Utah publicly commit to protecting public lands and monuments.
Patagonia is disappointed that the owners of Outdoor Retailer are blatantly ignoring the indigenous people, the local activists, the conservation community. We won't return to the trade show in Utah unless the state's leaders abandon their legal threats.
Now, REI sent us a statement saying basically the exact same thing. Their executive vice president, Ben Steele, told us REI will not participate in any OR trade show in the state so long as Utah's leaders persist in attacking our public lands or the laws that protect them. Trade show organizers did not speak to me on camera today, but they did say in an open letter that Salt Lake City is their hometown. They're going to go back home to push for change and awareness of public lands there. And they say they're moving the show to Utah next year, regardless of the decision these brands make to boycott. Guys.
Thank you, Rob. And actually, the reaction to the trade show's announcement goes beyond just the participants.
Governor Jared Polis sent Denver 7 a statement today saying in part, quote, "I'm proud that Colorado remains united with most major brands in valuing our public lands. And we remain focused on opportunities ahead that will come from even stronger partnerships between the outdoor industry and the state of Colorado."
And meanwhile, Colorado U.S. Senators Michael Bennet and John Hickenlooper also sent a joint statement saying, while this news is disappointing, we stand ready to work with leaders in outdoor recreation on new opportunities to showcase the community's strength. Colorado's long-standing record of supporting outdoor recreation and protecting our public lands makes us a leader in this space.
A Denver man could be facing some serious consequences over a game of pickleball. According to an affidavit obtained by Denver 7, a 71-year-old man is accused of felony criminal mischief for vandalizing the court at the Central Park Recreation Center. The affidavit says that the man, Arslan Gunay, racked up $10,000 in damages for using a permanent marker on the court floor to highlight boundary lines. He then told detectives he was trying to refresh the old lines and that any damage was unintentional. His attorney tells Denver 7 that the charge makes no sense and that Parks and Rec officials are not willing to play ball outside the court.
Criminal mischief requires that a person knowingly damages personal property. Arslan had no intent to damage. And once again, Denver Parks and Rec and John Martinez refused to meet with myself and Arslan.
So we reached out to Parks and Rec, and they sent us a statement saying in part, quote, "It is our duty and responsibility to the citizens of Denver to protect city assets and public property. Defacing or damaging public property is unacceptable, a criminal offense, and will not be tolerated in any of our public buildings or spaces."
President Biden is in Brussels, Belgium tonight. He is there for a crucial meeting with all 30 NATO leaders in hopes of de-escalating the war Russia has brought upon Ukraine. ABC's Karen Travers is there with the latest.
President Biden arriving in Brussels ahead of Thursday's quickly arranged NATO summit, a marathon schedule of meetings all focused on Russia's invasion of Ukraine. Leaving the White House Wednesday morning, the president not revealing his strategy.
I'm going to save when I get there.
White House officials say the president in Brussels will reaffirm the ironclad U.S. commitment to the NATO military alliance and work to strengthen the response from the U.S. and allies to Russia's ongoing attacks on Ukraine.
For the past few months, the West has been united. The president is traveling to Europe to ensure we stay united.
The president and world leaders will announce a new package of sanctions on Russia. The White House signaling this will be a new effort to crack down on countries helping Russia get around the previously imposed sanctions. Last week, President Biden said he believed Vladimir Putin was a war criminal. Today, the State Department announcing the U.S. has assessed that Russian forces have committed war crimes.
The U.S. government assesses that Russia's forces are committing war crimes in Ukraine.
And shocking new drone video released by a right-wing paramilitary group incorporated into the Ukraine National Guard, showing the devastation in Mariupol, entire neighborhoods destroyed. Thousands remain trapped as supplies such as food, water, and power are running low, but Ukrainian forces are still holding on. ABC's James Longman is in Lviv, Ukraine.
Hundreds of people come all day to get food, to get medication. Many of these people will have been coming from Mariupol, that besieged city to the southeast of Ukraine.
Meanwhile, a small victory for Ukrainian troops. Officials say they've reclaimed an important Kyiv suburb from Russian forces, along with control of a key highway, allowing them to block the Russians from surrounding the capital.
President Biden said Wednesday there's a real threat that Russia uses chemical weapons in Ukraine. He's said before there would be severe consequences if Russia took that action, but he hasn't said what those consequences would be. Karen Travers, ABC News, Brussels.
Karen, thank you. Madeleine Albright, the first female U.S. Secretary of State, has died. Her family says she passed away after a battle with cancer. Albright was born in Prague but spent part of her childhood here in Denver. She eventually went on to serve as U.S. Ambassador to the United Nations and then became the Secretary of State under President Clinton. Albright was 84 years old. She truly paved way for women. Governor Polis has ordered flags to be lowered to half-staff today through Sunday to honor her life and legacy.
After nearly 2 months, the Douglas County School District has a new superintendent. Overnight, the board voted to offer the job to Erin Kane, who is currently the executive director of a charter school in the district and previously served as interim superintendent from 2016 to 2018. And in the same meeting, the board also hired attorneys to potentially fight an open meetings lawsuit in relation to the controversial firing of previous superintendent Corey Wise.
The Marshall Fire debris removal process is one step closer to getting started. Boulder County Commissioners officially approved a $60 million contract with a company out of Louisiana to finally start the job. A team of inspectors will go through neighborhoods before heavy machinery arrives in a week or two. Boulder County will host an online meeting this Tuesday to answer questions about the cleanup. The entire process is expected to take 4 months.
It's the final day of questioning for President Biden's Supreme Court nominee, and Judge Ketanji Brown Jackson is not afraid of the tough questions.
After 20 weeks that a child can live independently, correct?
Senator, I'm not a biologist.
Plus, a Colorado woman is helping women of color give birth in a safe and supportive setting.
It's like our voices aren't heard, and the main goal of this is for Black women to be seen and be heard.
And a new push to change the way Colorado's kids get to school.
It's really important for the health of our children, as well as the environment, that we transition to electric buses.